which is also coordinated by the CMCC, the special military compound near Kiryat Gat, where many representatives of many nations are working on questions like demining, decommissioning, questions that deal with the future of Gaza, the building Gaza, the program of a huge amount of budgets that will go into Gaza and give a true overall of its infrastructure and create Gaza as a haven that we can live with and bring future to the Middle East would be remarkable. We are now in it. It has to be tested. It is clear that no one is willing to go into Gaza and fight except our military and our soldiers, our sons and daughters. And that is made clear that there will be a deadline to how long we can procrastinate in waiting to make sure that the terrorists are out. But in between, there is a major effort, and that's been discussed by the various parties to the agreement and to the UN Security Council resolution.
If the Gaza plan succeeds and there is a reconstruction and there is a technocratic government and Palestinians do begin to be able to live in peace and dignity, isn't the next step that they will ask for political rights? In other words, a path to statehood, and is that appropriate for them?
So the Security Council resolution and the 20-point plan have given, the horizon for that effect. And I think that's a very important horizon which has to be discussed, because the issue will be whether there are reforms on the Palestinian side, and how do you make sure that there will be peace and security for the Israelis, and how we move on as nations in the Middle East. I think the greatness of the process right now is that it is also based on regional elements, and the fact that it's a regional process also gives strong winds to many new facets in the dialogue, such as economic improvement, economic dialogue, economic benefits, and so forth and so on, that give vested interest to the people to see that there is a future rather than going to terror. This technocratic government will be tested by its ability to function well and bring forward improvement of life quite quickly in Gaza, with the support of the international community and, of course, with the increase of humanitarian aid as much as possible to Gaza.
Saudi Arabia has said that it will normalize relations with Israel only if there are serious and irreversible steps toward Palestinian statehood. Do you think that that is a deal that is conceivable?
Look, Saudi Arabia is a very, very important nation, and I always say it's my dream to see the Crown Prince and the leader of Saudi Arabia sign with us an agreement of moving forward. But right now what we have is the platform of the Abraham Accords, and the Abraham Accords were carved out in the first term of President Trump and has shown immense sustainability throughout the storm that has we have seen in the Middle East. Throughout very difficult years, the Abraham Accords have shown immense impact and immense strength and resilience, and we want to see more nations in the Abraham Accords. Take, for example, the enormous role of the United Arab Emirates in what we've seen, the huge humanitarian aid in Gaza, building hospitals in Gaza, being heavily involved in various processes such as the Board of Peace, and maintaining very strong relations with Israel. And Saudi Arabia is the most important house of the Sunni, the Sunni Muslims around the world, with the holiest places for Islam, and I think that the vision of Saudi Arabia and Israel is a vision of rapprochement between Jews and Muslim, which should be the future vision of the Middle East.
And therefore, could Israel agree to its conditions?
So I'm saying because it's been dealt with also with other elements. The Crown Prince, Sheikh Mohammed bin Salman, in the White House, in the Oval Office, mentioned, of course, the pathway for a Palestinian state. It is clear the position of the Saudis, and I'm sure that once we move on to the next phase of the Gaza plan and further processes, things will be discussed.
Right now in the West Bank, though, things seem to be moving in the opposite direction. There are more settlements, more violence against Palestinians, more annexations. Isn't that making a two-state solution impossible?
So I would say that, Israel is going into an election year. And it's going to be a very heated public debate on many, many issues. The issue of the two-state solution, Palestinian state, is an issue that is one of these issues that will be debated. As head of state, which is not involved in the political system, I'm cautious as commenting exactly on the outcome of each of these issues and how they will be discussed and what is the right path. I would say also that I've said it previously also in our previous interview, that following October 7th, there is a lot of rethinking and reanalysis amongst Israelis about what is the best way of living together with our neighbors. I think it's a must that we build a future of coexistence and peace between Israelis and Palestinians. But what will be the political format and the outcome will be discussed also in our elections.
Before the October 7th massacres, in the previous period of the kind of internal political debates in Israel, you did weigh in when it seemed to you that Israel's constitutional structure was being threatened by the current government. Do you worry that that issue will come up again, and will you speak out again?
So it will be also a major issue in our political arena and, of course, in the elections. The debate is around the boundaries between the three arms of government. I always made clear, and I keep on making clear, that I give strong support to the independence of the judiciary and, of course, to the way, the nomination of judges and the support to our judges. But the debate as to the boundaries between the three arms of government is a debate that has been there with us for about a generation or so, and it is also an issue that is touching in many spheres of life in Israel. It will be discussed heavily during this election year, and at least on my part, I'll do my best, truly. I'll put my full weight that the debate and the discussion will not exceed and break the boundaries that must be kept in a decent and honorable democracy and within the rules that should be honored under such circumstances.
President Trump has made a direct request to you. He has asked that you pardon Prime Minister Netanyahu in advance for any and all crimes he may have committed. Will you pardon Prime Minister Netanyahu?
So I've made clear on numerous times, and people simply sometimes tend to have an oversight. Under our laws and guidelines, any such request has to go through a certain procedure. And right now, the request has to go through the procedure of collecting various opinions by the relevant agencies in the Ministry of Justice. I cannot violate that because, of course, I have to operate according to the rules. I've said time and again that I respect President Trump tremendously. And, of course, we have our own legal system, and I will operate within its ambles. I must say that I've said time and again in the last few years that the court case where Prime Minister Netanyahu is at the center of should have been resolved and should be resolved amicably, and because it has a very negative impact on our system. And I think that solutions should be found. The rest I will leave to the procedure, because at the end I will operate and take my decisions independently according to the rules, the law, and my conscience. And that's what I can say at this moment.
But when you say it should be resolved amicably, that suggests you mean that, court cases
No,
are
I said in the past a few times that there should have been a settlement of this case. I mentioned in the Israeli public, it hasn't come to such fruition. And therefore came the process of the request for the pardon, and also the letter and the request of President Trump, which I always respect, but I operate as the head of state of the Israeli nation, and I will operate accordingly.
Mr. President, thank you